see what do we mean by internet authentication, and then we will see what can be used to do internet authentication. Okay. So when I say internet authentication, I mean, what I mean by this. So see, basically there are various approaches. So whenever we are dealing with internet, okay, we have some servers and some clients. Okay, generally we call it hosts. There are many hosts and there are many servers. And in the network system, host would like to communicate with the servers, right? Now, in this process, definitely authentication plays a very important role, because as a host, you have to have some confidence that you are dealing with or you are talking to an authenticated server. Okay, a server who he claims to be. Similarly, from the point of view of server, it is very important because server is having some services in place. It is very important for a server to, authenticate the host. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Okay, if unauthorized host impersonate, okay, it become the authenticated host. It seems to be authenticated host. Then definitely there is some unauthorized actions that could be performed. So when we are dealing with internet, which is highly insecure environment, okay, it is in the public domain, everything is open. In such environment, how to have authentication process? So that is the goal of this particular, topic. So see, there could be many ways. One way could be we can have some sort of OTP and things like that. Okay, so whenever user want to enter a particular server, access a particular service, there will be a random password or an OTP generated and sent to his mobile or something like that. And then he will enter the OTP and can access. And this is how user authentication can be done. The problem with this method is this particular method requires some special equipment. What is special equipment? There should be some, system who will generate OTP. You have to send a system which send SMS of this OTP. Then you need a system which verify or synchronize these passwords and all, right? So all these things actually make the system very slow. And when we are dealing with internet, we need something very fast, because already there is a high load on the server, right? Another approach could be we can use biometric. Okay, some kind of biometric, some e-signature, something like that. But again, this will require some other verification method, some special equipments, etc., etc. And it is not quite possible always, because if you are dealing with biometric system, you need to be have the physical, your physical appearance should be there, although it can be done through camera or things like that. But this will going to again make the system very, very slow. Okay, so this is the problem which was there. And MIT students came up with the solution to this problem, and they developed a protocol which is known as Kerberos protocol. Okay, and this is actually developed specifically for internet authentication. Okay, so let's see what this is. Okay. So the idea is, you have to use the authentication software which is tied to a secure authentication server. Okay, so for example, so let's discuss Kerberos, and then you will actually understand what I mean by this. See, software utilities available in both public domain as well as in the commercially supported versions. Okay, so this Kerberos is now available for public domain also and for commercial purpose also. And it will become the de facto standard for remote authentication. Okay, so whenever you are dealing with remote authentication, this is the standard protocol that you will going to use. Now, in Kerberos, the overall scheme of Kerberos depend upon a trusted third-party authentication service. Now, this is very important part in Kerberos. Trusted third-party authentication service. It is trusted in the sense that client and server trust Kerberos to mediate their mutual authentication, right? So there are three entities involved. So these are the clients, group of clients, and these are the group of server, and both of them rely on Kerberos server, or you can call Kerberos, to authenticate them. Okay, actually they want to authenticate themselves. Client want to authenticate server, server want to authenticate client. Okay, but because of this overburden and all these issues, MIT proposed Kerberos, which says that it is the responsibility of Kerberos now to establish mutual authentication between client and server, right? So basically, Kerberos requires that a user prove his or identity for each service involved and requires server to prove their identity to the clients, right? So whenever client needs to access some service from the server, he can access that particular service. I'm emphasizing on each service. For each service, you need to authenticate yourself. And from the point of view of client, he have the right, which is definitely optional, but he has the right to ask a server to prove his identity. Okay, so this is the job of Kerberos, right? Now let's see, how actually it works. So basically, Kerberos make use of a protocol that involve three entities, as we discussed. One is the clients, another is the application servers. So these are the major two entities who like to communicate or authenticate each other. Okay, we have clients and we have application servers. Now in Kerberos protocol, we also need a Kerberos server, which is a trusted third-party server. Okay. So now this particular protocol is designed to counter a variety of threats to the security of a client or server dialogue. Okay, so generally whenever we deal with a system like this, the protocol should be complex enough that can reflect, even if the opponent tries to penetrate in the security, it has the mechanism to revert it back. So the defense mechanism needs to be very strong, okay? Because this major risk in this environment is impersonation, okay? Somebody can claim I am this person, which actually he is not. This is known as impersonation, right? So this is the biggest threat when you are dealing with unprotected network environment, okay? So let's see how this Kerberos protocol will actually do that. Now Kerberos server will actually make use of authentication server. There is one server called authentication server. So user initially negotiate with authentication server for identity verification. This is the first step. Then authentication server verify the identity and passes this information to the application server, which will then accept the service request from the client. This is what happened next. Okay. The only problem is somehow we need to find secure way of authentication. This is what we want. Otherwise, client and server can directly authenticate each other. What we want is how we can authenticate each other in a secure way without even exchanging passwords over the unprotected network. And also we have to keep it as light as possible because server is tend to be already very burdened. Okay. So let's see how it works. Few steps written in this. So first of all, let me tell you, these are the clients that we are talking about. Okay. So let's say this is the one person client. This particular client will need to access this particular application server, which is here. Okay. But to access that request, definitely he needs some kind of authentication. Now that authentication can be done by Kerberos, which is considered to be trusted third party server. authentication server. Inside Kerberos, there are two main servers. One is the authentication server, as we discussed, and there is another server which is called ticket granting server. Okay, so let's see how this system works. Okay, there is a shared key, a secret key, which is already shared between client and Kerberos. Now, how can we do that? The authentication server shares a unique secret key with each client and also with each server. Okay, keys are already shared. Now, there are many ways to distribute the key in a secure manner. Okay, it could be done by, some kind of public key encryption, or it could be it could be physical. Okay, physically that somebody feed that key into the system, etc. Okay, so we will not go into those issues. The only thing we will assume is there is a key shared between Kerberos and client, which is a one-time process, and there is a key shared between Kerberos and the all the application servers. Okay, so there are different unique secret keys for each application server, right? User logs into the workstation, user logs on the workstation and request service on host. There is a particular service which he needs on host. So what this user will do, as a first step, user will send a request to authentication server that this is my user ID and I need a TGT. I need a ticket granting ticket. Okay. Now, with the authentication server, there is a kind of a database which stores user ID, all user IDs who are registered with the Kerberos. Okay. So, what authentication server will do? He will verify users' access right in the database, create a TGT and a session key. Now, there are two things that authentication server will generate: a TGT, ticket granting ticket, plus a session key. And then these two things will be encrypted using the password of the user. Okay, so if you remember, there is already a pre-shared password. Okay, so we will not call it as a key now. Between Kerberos and user, there will be a password which is already well established. So authentication server knows that this is the password corresponding to this user ID. Since he sent me this user ID, he will encrypt this entire data using a key which is generated from his password. Okay. All right. Now this encrypted data is sent back to the client. Ticket and session key, these are the two things, but in the encrypted form. And how the encryption has been done? It is done using a key which is derived from the password of the user. Okay. Once this request will go on the system of client will prompt it for entering a password. Okay, there is a pop-up that please enter your password. As soon as this client will enter the password, the data has been decrypted, right? And he will receive a ticket, a TGT, and the session key. Okay, now what? The client enter the password, he get the decrypted version of TGT and the session key. It means that the authentication server has been able to verify that the user's identity is correct because he knows the password. Okay, but all these things happen in such a way that password is never shared through unprotected network. You can see this ticket generating ticket. Now this ticket constitute of a set of credentials that can be used by the client to apply to a server for service. Okay. Now, this ticket indicate that authentication server has accepted the request of the client and he successfully verified that this is the right user. Okay. So what does the ticket contain? Ticket contain user ID, server ID, timestamp, which is very important. Okay, there is a timestamp, and I will tell you why it is important. And a lifetime after which ticket will be invalid. Okay, so this is a generating time and this is a validity time. Timestamp of validity. So these are the few information which will be sent, and a copy of same session key will be sent in the outer message to the client. Okay, so ticket contain all this information along with the session key separately sent to the client. Now this entire ticket, I am talking only about ticket. Ticket is encrypted using a secret key which is shared between the Kerberos and the server. Okay, the particular ticket. So ticket cannot be decrypted by the user. He can get a copy of ticket, that's it, but he cannot decrypt it. That is an important thing. Okay, so no one can tamper the ticket. So now Kerberos could have been set up so that authentication server would send back a ticket granting access to a particular application server. This particular thing will be shown to ticket granting ticket. Now this ticket granting server have access of ticket. Now what he will do, he will give him another ticket which is meant for one particular service. Okay, so suppose the user want to use 10 services of a server. He need to generate 10 tickets for each service. Each one type of service, he needs one ticket. Okay, so since authentication server give him TGT, he can give that TGT to the ticket granting server, and he will provide him a specific ticket through which he can access only one particular service. Okay, so now what happened is he will request this ticket, TGT decrypts the ticket and authentication verify the request and then create a ticket for the requested application. Once he have that particular ticket not TGT but ticket to access a particular service, he will then send that ticket to the server, and then the server will provide the service to that. And if the client require, host or server can verify himself as well. Okay, let me quickly summarize Kerberos here. When we deal with Kerberos server consists of three types of authentication, right? So there is one key which is shared between Kerberos server. It could be password or it could be anything. Okay, but it is shared between Kerberos server and the user. Then there is a some shared key which is shared between Kerberos and the application server. Okay, and this is how Kerberos can authenticate the user as well as authenticate the server, and can establish a secure connection, authenticated connection between the user and the application server. Okay, and that is why this is known as Kerberos. Now, how Kerberos work? So whenever user want to access a particular service of the application server, he log on to his workstation, send a request to authentication server or to Kerberos to grant him TGT, ticket granting ticket. Okay, this is the very first step. So when this particular client send the request of ticket granting ticket along with the user ID, okay, so he has the user, he will send user ID and the request for giving him the TGT. Okay, on receiving of this particular request, what authentication server will do, authentication server will check in the database and he finds whatever the password which is corresponding to this particular user ID. He will retrieve that password and he will generate a key based on this particular password. Okay, now what authentication server will do, authentication server will generate a ticket and a session key. that session key will be used by the client to communicate with the ticket granting server. Okay, so this ticket and session key will be encrypted using the password of client. Okay, the key generated through password of client. Let me put it in that way. Key generated through password of client. Now, when this encrypted data sent to the workstation or to the client, the user is prompted to enter his password. As soon as he enter the password, he get TGT as well as the session key. Now, please mind that the TGT is still encrypted. Okay, TGT has all the information about the user, the server name, etc., etc. Okay, it has the user ID and some sort of what you call passwords and all those information, timestamp, what is the ID of the server which he requests. Sorry. So user ID, server ID, timestamp, validity of the ticket, etc. So all this information or the entire ticket, without decrypting the ticket itself, this ticket will be sent to the ticket granting server, and then he specify the user specify that this is the service he want to access. Okay, now on the recipient of this TGT, ticket granting ticket, what TGS will do, TGS will decrypt the data. Okay, because he has a proper session key to decrypt that data. And then what he will do is he decrypt the ticket and authenticator, verify the request, and then create a ticket for the specific application server. Now, ticket granting ticket is a one-time process. Okay, once you have TGT, you can again and again send it to the ticket granting server, and each and every time you just need to mention what is the application service or what is the application server you need to talk with. Depending upon that, ticket granting server will issue you a ticket which is corresponding to a particular application server, right? So that particular ticket, which can be used only once per service, and the session key will be sent to the client. Now, what this client will do, now this client is in the position to send the request to the application server. When the request go to the application server verify that the ticket and the authenticator matches. Okay, so let's grant access to this particular service, because there is already a shared key between Kerberos and host. So application server can successfully decrypt the data and read the information. Okay, and this is how client and application server can mutually authenticate each other. There are some cases where client also want that I need the authentication from the application server, that this is the right application server I am talking to. In that case, application server can provide the authentication. Okay, but this is completely optional. So let me mark it with dotted line. This is only if demanded. Okay, otherwise, once the user, the request to access the service is accepted, user will actually access the service and then log out. Okay, so if you carefully look at this diagram, ticket granting ticket step is only once per user login. Whereas when you are getting the ticket to use a specific service, it is every time when you want to use a particular type of service. Okay, so if you are using a particular service for some time, for some session, so this is once per service session. Okay, till the time that session is active, there is no need for authentication. If the session is out, again you have to go to this TGS and ask another ticket to use the service. Okay, so only these two processes will repeat again and again, but first two processes are only once when the user is logged in. So this is how Kerberos system work. Okay, so the overall idea is that this ticket can be used by the client to request multiple service granting tickets. So the ticket granted ticket is reusable. Okay, and definitely we don't want the opponent to able to capture this ticket and use it, reuse it sometime else. Therefore there are proper time stepping and all those things are there. Okay, yes, scenario that I told you, it could be Kerberos realms also. Okay, so if you see, Kerberos environment consists of three things. There is a Kerberos server, a set of clients, few clients are there, and a set of application server. Okay, so clients are all registered with server, and there is a key shared between application server and the Kerberos server. Okay, as we have discussed in this diagram, this step, all the clients need to be registered on the Kerberos server, and there should be a key which is shared between Kerberos server and all the application servers. Okay, now it may be possible, so this entire thing, this entire setup, okay, the entire setup, so here only one client is there, but there could be multiple clients and multiple application server. Entire system is known as realm. This entire framework is known as one realm. Okay, so there could be multiple realms. Okay, if there are multiple realms, what will happen? See, this is what happened. So this is realm 1 and this is realm 2. Sometimes it may happen client want to access a application server which does not lie into the realm of this particular Kerberos server. Okay, so there is no key which is shared between these two because this is lying outside the realm. Okay, in that case what happened, one step increases. Now ticket granting ticket will give him a ticket to access some other Kerberos server. Okay, so now this server request ticket from the remote server, and then this server will give the ticket. So there is this client needs to be registered on this, so there is could be a key shared between these two, a key shared between these two, and a key shared between these two. Okay, and you can generalize this to n number of rings. Okay, yes, so that's it for Kerberos. As far as the performance issue is concerned, larger client server installation, but very little performance impact in the large scale environment if the system is properly configured, because the work is very well distributed. Okay, there is no load on the application server at all. Okay, so in that sense, with the incorporation of Kerberos, the overall performance increases a lot. As far as security is concerned, it is best assured by placing Kerberos server on separate isolated machine. Okay, so if something bad happened to the Kerberos, other system will not affect. Any application server who is actually providing the real service will not be affected, and vice versa. Okay, so somehow we are creating a isolation between authentication process and the actual service providing process. And there is a motivation for multiple realms because it is administrative, easy to maintain, and not much has to do with performance. You may think that this step increases, but in that case overall if you see, there will be almost negligible overhead that will be put on. Okay, so in that sense Kerberos is highly used, and as I told you, it will become a de facto for internet authentication. Okay, yes.